Welcome to Stories Pulse. Today's heartwarming story will take you on an unexpected journey of kindness, courage, and second chances. Discover how a young girl's selfless act transformed her life, and that of a powerful lawyer in ways they never imagined. If you're moved by this story, don't forget to subscribe for more. Like the video to show your support, share with friends, and comment your thoughts below. We'd love to hear from you. Under a cold, starless sky, 9-year-old Maya sat alone in an alleyway. Her life on the streets was a daily struggle for survival. Hunger gnawed at her small frame, and her eyes, once bright and filled with wonder, now held the weight of the world. But tonight, something would happen that would change her life forever. A wallet, bulging with cash, lay forgotten near a park bench. Little did she know that this wallet belonged to a renowned lawyer, Thomas Caldwell. Returning it would unravel a series of events that would shake both their worlds in ways neither could have imagined. Maya's life was far from what it once had been. Just 2 years ago, she had a home, a loving mother, and dreams of becoming a ballerina. But when her mother fell gravely ill and passed away, Maya's world crumbled. With no relatives willing to take her in, and a system that seemed to forget about her, Maya found herself on the streets, abandoned, vulnerable, and alone. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months as Maya learned to fend for herself. She slept in alleyways and under bridges, scavenging for food, always keeping her distance from the gangs that prowled the streets. The only comfort she had was the memory of her mother's soft voice, urging her, always do the right thing, even when it's hard. Meanwhile, Thomas Caldwell was a man at the peak of his career, a powerful, well-known lawyer with a reputation for being ruthless in the courtroom. He was the type of man who would win at all costs. Though admired by many, those closest to him knew he had a darker side. He had sacrificed family, friendships, and even his integrity to reach the top. Despite his success, something was missing in his life. Beneath his polished exterior, there was an emptiness he couldn't shake. It was on a particularly cold evening that Maya's story would intersect with Thomas Caldwell's. She was walking through a quiet park, her thin jacket offering little protection from the biting wind. As she approached a bench, something caught her eye. A wallet lying on the ground, its contents spilling out slightly. Her heart raced as she crouched down to examine it. The leather was worn, but it was clearly an expensive piece. Inside, there was a thick stack of cash, credit cards, and an ID. Her eyes widened as she read the name. Thomas Caldwell. Maya had heard of him. Everyone in the city had. He was the lawyer who had recently made headlines for winning a massive case, earning millions in fees. This wallet could change her life. With all this money, she could buy food, warm clothes, maybe even find a place to stay for the night. But then her mother's voice echoed in her mind. Always do the right thing, even when it's hard. Torn between her survival instincts and the morals her mother had instilled in her, Maya sat on the bench, clutching the wallet tightly. She stared at the money, feeling the weight of her decision pressing down on her small shoulders. Finally, after what seemed like hours, she made up her mind. She would return the wallet. The next day, Maya nervously made her way to Thomas Caldwell's office. The towering skyscraper loomed above her, its cold steel and glass exterior reflecting a world she felt so distant from. She had never been in a place like this, so clean, so pristine. After a long wait in the lobby, the receptionist led her to Caldwell's office. The man behind the desk was just as imposing as the building, tall, sharp-featured, and impeccably dressed. Thomas barely glanced at her as she approached. His attention was focused on the stack of papers in front of him, a never-ending workload that consumed his life. "I found this," Maya said quietly, holding out the wallet. Thomas's head snapped up, his eyes narrowing as they fell on the wallet in her hand. He reached out slowly, taking it from her. For a moment, there was silence as he opened it, checking the contents. Everything was there: the cash, the cards, the ID. "How much did you take?" he asked, his voice cold and accusatory. Maya's heart sank. "I didn't take anything," she whispered. Thomas studied her, his expression unreadable. "Why? Why didn't you take the money? You could have gotten away with it." Maya looked down at her worn shoes, her voice barely a whisper. "My mom always told me to do the right thing." For a moment, something flickered in Thomas's eyes, something Maya couldn't quite place. He leaned back in his chair, watching her closely. "And what do you want in return? Money?" Maya shook her head. "No, I just wanted to give it back." This was the first time in a long while that Thomas had encountered someone who expected nothing from him. He was used to people wanting something, whether it was money, power, or influence. But this girl, this street kid, didn't want anything. He stood up, walking around his desk and kneeling so that he was eye level with her. For the first time, he saw the dirt on her face, the thinness of her arms, and the way her clothes hung loosely on her small frame. She was just a child, yet she had shown more integrity than most adults he knew. Without warning, Thomas pulled out his phone and called security. Maya's heart raced. What was he doing? Was she in trouble? Had she made a mistake in coming here? Two burly security guards entered the room, and Thomas gave them a nod. "Take her downstairs, get her something to eat and some clean clothes," he said, his voice surprisingly gentle. "And then bring her back." Maya stared at him in shock as the guards led her out of the office. She had expected to be thrown out, or worse, arrested. But instead, Thomas was helping her. After a meal and a change of clothes, Maya was brought back to Thomas's office. This time, he gestured for her to sit in a chair opposite him. He looked at her for a long moment before speaking. "You remind me of someone I once knew," he said quietly, "someone I lost a long time ago." Maya didn't know what to say. She had never seen this side of Thomas Caldwell before, the side that was vulnerable, almost human. "Tell me," he continued, "where are your parents?" Maya swallowed hard. "My mom, she passed away. I don't have anyone." There was a long silence as Thomas absorbed this. He had been so consumed by his work, by his own ambition, that he had forgotten what it meant to care about someone else. But now, looking at this small, fragile girl in front of him, something shifted inside him. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. For the first time in years, Thomas Caldwell felt something other than ambition driving him. He felt empathy, compassion, feelings he had buried deep within himself. And in that moment, he made a decision that would change both their lives. Over the next few weeks, Thomas began to take an interest in Maya's life. He arranged for her to stay in a shelter, but he wasn't satisfied with just that. He couldn't shake the feeling that he owed her something more lasting, more meaningful. He found himself thinking about her often, wondering what her life must have been like on the streets, how she had survived. He realized that despite all his wealth and success, he had never done anything that truly mattered. One day, after a particularly grueling day in court, Thomas made a decision. He called Maya to his office and sat her down. "Maya," he said, "I want to help you, but not just by giving you money or a place to stay. I want to give you a future." Maya's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Thomas continued, "I want to adopt you." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. After years of being alone, of feeling forgotten, someone wanted her. Someone wanted to give her a home, a family. But it wasn't that simple. Maya hesitated. "Why?" she asked, her voice small. Thomas sighed. "Because you reminded me of something important. You reminded me of who I used to be before I lost myself in this world of money and power. I've spent my whole life chasing the wrong things, and I want to change that. I want to help you, Maya, because you deserve a chance at a better life." Maya looked at him, her heart pounding in her chest. She had been alone for so long, she didn't know how to trust anyone anymore. But something in Thomas's eyes told her that he meant what he said. The adoption process wasn't easy. There were legal hurdles to overcome, and Thomas's reputation as a hard-nosed lawyer made some people question his ability to be a good father. But Thomas was determined. He fought for Maya the same way he fought for his clients, with everything he had. And slowly over time, Maya began to trust him. She began to open up, sharing stories about her mother, her time on the streets, and her dreams of one day becoming a dancer. Thomas listened, and for the first time in his life, he felt like he was doing something that truly mattered. As the months passed, Maya's life transformed. She enrolled in school, made new friends, and even started taking ballet classes. And Thomas? He found a happiness he never knew he was missing. He still worked hard, but now he made time for Maya, attending her recitals, helping her with her homework, and most importantly, being there for her. The ruthless lawyer who once cared only about winning had found something far more precious. A daughter who had taught him the true meaning of family. And in the end, it was Maya who had saved him, just as much as he had saved her.